And welcome to the We Like Sportz Podcast. Once again, I am one of your hosts alongside Casey, Ed in Columbus. Shout out to him joining us for the first time, as well as Riggs on the way, and Drew hopefully joining us later on. And we have plenty to talk about on today's show. Very baseball spring training like show because, we've avoided it for about 3 weeks along with March Madness. So the times finally came, guys.
I'm excited to be on. I'm excited that it's March. My birthday was yesterday. I turned 43, but I'm ready to rock and roll today. Ain't no old guy stuff today. We're keeping it young. We're keeping it fresh. That's how we're going to do it. And, March, they say, comes in like a lamb or a lion or something like that. But, this March Madness has been nothing but a lion with all these upsets and all the newbies that are in the Final Four. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the Guardians. Second year as the Guardians. So let's get the name right this year, Cleveland. No more Indians. We're Guardians moving forward. And that's
right,
how we're going to do it. But, yes, I'm excited to be here. And, Casey, what's up, my guy?
How's it going? How's it going? Yeah, it's the first time Ed's on here. I see you comment all the time, but it's the first time you're on, so pleasure to have you. And I'm sure, like you said, March Madness, we're going to have to talk about in baseball. We have pushed off about 3 to 4 weeks, so let's see if we can touch on it this week for once.
So, obviously we have Lamar Jackson in the NFL, but we're going to try to end up avoiding that today for the most part because that could be one of those topics that could take forever. But let's briefly hit on it, guys. Let's just talk about the fact that it came out today before John Harbaugh ended up speaking with the Baltimore media. Lamar Jackson moments before said, "Hey, back in the beginning of March, I requested for a trade, and they've been looking since then. So, what's that look like for the Ravens? And what are your thoughts on Lamar Jackson possibly on the way out of Baltimore? And where could you see him possibly going to? And we'll do Casey to start off, and then Ed and Columbus. You could end up going afterwards.
I feel like it's a tricky situation because when they said that he wanted to get released or traded, like there was no teams that were interested, they said. Everyone backed out within the first 10 minutes of it getting announced. So it's going to be hard to see if they do trade him, the difference between what the Jets would trade for Rodgers compared to whatever team, let's say the Falcons, the team that would make sense to me, would trade to get Lamar Jackson. If the compensation's the same, if it's different, plus you're going to have to pay Jackson the money he wants with that trade. So it's not just signing him and whatever, it's trading for him and paying for whatever the contract he wants is.
Well, as a Cleveland Browns fan, we always say Lamar Jackson. You see the things on Brown Twitter. He's the best running back, and we make jokes about Lamar Jackson. But I will be glad if Lamar Jackson is not a Baltimore Raven because he is a Cleveland Browns killer. On Monday night, I know he went to the bathroom, came back, and threw a touchdown and beat us on that. So throw all the jokes aside, but I will be glad to see Mr. I'm sorry, Lamar Jackson, you got to go. I was thinking about this. Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets seemed like a foregone conclusion. But if I'm the New York Jets, I'm thinking to myself, I got cash, I got money. In the long term, what's better, having Lamar or Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. But I do see him like the Falcons. I see teams that, weren't interested or crossed their names off the list. I can see the GMs making that phone call to Ozzie Newsome in Baltimore. Yeah. And saying, hey, look, is Ozzie Newsome still the GM or did he step down last year? I forget.
I don't remember offhand if he is or not.
Yeah. So I don't want to. So if I'm wrong, correct me, slam me on Twitter. That's fine. But call up Ozzy. He's a good guy anyway. So if you want to call him up, but yeah, I'm definitely calling Baltimore up and asking about his services. And I'm wondering too with this March 2nd thing, if Lamar had an agent, would things have gone a lot smoother in this transition? Because the fact that he didn't, maybe talking to his mama was a little different than talking to an agent or whatever the case may be. So I'm interested as a Browns fan in the AFC North. Get him out of the division by any means.
Yeah, and as you mentioned too, that thing with Aaron Rodgers too. What if the possibility happens that this deal ends up falling through with Aaron Rodgers now too, and he ends up riding into the sunset because, like you said, the Jets, they have the better option with Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson, who's going to give you more longevity. And at this point, somebody that's 26, 27 years old, and he wants to win, he wants to play with all these guys that deem him as a winner, makes you end up thinking twice, hey, what if that does fall through? And what if Aaron Rodgers ends up retiring anyways just because it's inconvenient? He seems like that type of guy too, because especially if Lamar Jackson did go to the Jets, he's not going to wait around. He's not going to want to end up playing there whatsoever.
He may have liked the dark room and wants to go back to it. Who knows?
Right, exactly. And on that note of the dark room, not so much in the dark room anymore, but we're bringing them to the light. Drew is now joining us once again on the We Like Sportz Podcast. And before we end up moving on towards baseball, Drew, we were talking about Lamar Jackson heading out of Baltimore. Really quick, before we end up changing the topics to baseball, what are your thoughts on that possibility?
So I was actually just listening to the radio on the way home, and Lamar Jackson, the team was doing a presser to talk about like the contract stuff. At the moment that they were supposed to do it, he tweets himself and comes out and does his own press release that he wants to trade out. I don't know if I'm on the Ravens, I do not want Lamar Jackson in my locker room. Like I've
Not
had
at this point.
So it's a matter of time before he's out. He played his cards a little too hard. He should have gotten his contract last year when they were talking about re-upping. He didn't have like the lights out season he was supposed to have, and he's not going to get his $200 million guaranteed. So he lost in this whole thing. I don't think anybody's desperate enough to give him $200 million guaranteed.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. Absolutely. And changing gears here, I want to try this one thing. If I could end up playing this video for the baseball-related topics too. I was talking about Zach Greinke in his spring training. It's been really intriguing, I guess, so to speak. And I've sent the video to a couple of the guys, but we could end up showing it, I believe, on this stream right now. So I'm going to give it a shot, and hopefully it ends up working out. But he's been having some fun this spring training, so let's see if we can end up getting that action in there.
After the off day on Tuesday, so as early as Wednesday, he may be able to start swinging in these games again. He'll take a strike here.
Well, he may not be swinging, but Greinke is still grunting as he throws the ball.
He's walked in each of his first 4 at-bats, or the games he's played, his first at-bat, he's walked.
Well, Greinke has discovered he's not going to swing the bat. He's just lobbing. The only other thing about Greinke, he's the one that's working the pitch count on the right side of his belt. He's giving the pitch count.
59 miles an hour. Now he just throws one down the middle with something on it.
He seems like a Trevor Bauer of sorts almost. Like if that's like the comparison, he's like the good guy Trevor Bauer. He's not a piece of shit.
Well, there was more to that video than that. Did you see the full one?
I saw it on TikTok, the full one, and I only found that one on Twitter. That was like that brief one that you ended up having that because he was screwing around with the pitch com too for a while.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, he said that he walked nine batters or something, or to pit
because he wanted to work on his pickup move.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he was throwing balls in like that. Yeah, to give up hits.
Which is the best strategy, though, to end up figuring that out. Because I mean, obviously, for spring training, you want to work on things.
Yeah, he said he was too good throughout the spring training, so he never had a chance to pick anybody off. So he wanted to do it now and try that before the season started.
I mean, for a 39-year-old guy, he's still got a baby face, and he's going to be Kansas City's opening day starter. Becomes like one of only like 7 others to start 3 or more consecutive openers for Kansas. Not consecutive, but 3 or more total starts. In last year, he beat Cleveland in 5 2/3 innings with a 3-1 win over Cleveland. So older veterans, quirky veterans, they look at spring training differently than a guy that's trying to make the club. And for him trying to test out the new rules and everything, I actually say I tip my cap to him with that. Why not have a little fun in spring? And yeah, it seems kind of odd and everything, but Zach Greinke reminds me of a guy, Jose Ramirez. I know obviously you got a batter pitcher, but when Jose Ramirez was coming up, he was in the minor leagues and he was struggling, always batted around 200. I never thought he would be the star that he is. Zach Greinke was kind of that way as well when he first started out his career. I was like, he's a good pitcher, played for Royals or whatever like that. But then he became a superstar. And now, and watching him in his old age and everything like that, it's amazing the career that he's had. So I like to see guys in spring training having a little fun, and that's what he wants to do. It gives us a good video and something to talk about.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, I love Zach Greinke. He's always been a weirdo. He's always been a strange character, but I like the way he's approaching spring training. Like, it's training. He knows he's a starter. I mean, he knows that he's going to have that spot locked in no matter what. But I love the throwing 50-mile-an-hour pitches. Like, I just don't care, and I want people on base, so I'm just going to lob it in.
And the fact that in that video,
it's awesome.
And the fact that in that video, that batter that was hitting couldn't hit because they just put him in there and they were like, you're not swinging because you're hurt. But we need to end up putting a pinch hitter in here in this situation. And he gives him 90-mile-per-hour gas down the middle, then a 50-mile-per-hour eephus, then another fastball, then like another 48-mile-per-hour eephus. He's throwing softballs up there almost to him that you're going to want to end up slamming out of the park, but you can't because you're hurt. And I mean, the fact that you have an injury on top of it and it's spring training and Zach Greinke came out and said, not Zach Greinke himself, but enough pitchers and TikToks and Twitters, they're saying he's trying to end up playing with PitchCom himself and he's shaking himself off, which makes no sense whatsoever, but it makes for such good content with Zach Greinke. And it's like, you can consider him a winner, and I think you could still consider him a winner before he came to Houston just because he had Cy Young years in Kansas City. He probably brought the Royals to relevancy back when they were relevant, when they were in the World Series. But the thing is now is that, like Ed was saying, it's been however many years he's been in the league. He's almost 40 years old, and he's just playing ball. He's literally playing a child's game now, and he's enjoying it and getting paid a shit ton of money just to play baseball, and he makes it fun again. And I mean, the fact that you have rule changes this year, too, makes it more intriguing because you have to end up figuring out a game that you've played for 18 plus years a completely different way. You got to learn it. And obviously with a pickup move or a pickoff move like that, you want to make sure that within those 3 interruptions, you want to get that guy on first, second, third, wherever that guy may be, that runner.
And honestly, is he any different than any of us shaking ourselves off? I mean, I remember, any day, going down the road and I went Taco Bell, I shook myself off. I got KFC instead. I mean, it's no different than our daily lives than what we do. So, once again, Zach Greinke showing that he's just one of us.
I do love that he's got the pitch, like that whole pitch device is supposed to be designed for catchers to give the signals to the pitcher.
But he says, I'm doing it.
He's like, I'm going to do it the opposite direction. And I bet he's not the only pitcher that's going to end up doing that this year.
Yeah. Casey, do you have anything else to add?
No, I mean, I agree. It doesn't have that big of a deal,
I mean, it just makes baseball that much more entertaining. And I mean, honestly, at the same time, it's spring training. And I hate to end up admitting it, but like most of us, we ended up holding off baseball over and over again. You got Thursday's opening day throughout the MLB, but it's spring training. It's making you watch doing something like that. It gives you a reason to watch because it's like, all right, every 5th day, every 6th day for spring training, Zach Greinke is going to end up trying out this XYZ thing for this one time. Like Shane Bieber for the Guardians ended up throwing 6 2/3 during spring training, his last outing, and like it gives you a reason to watch that. It was against the Rockies, but it gives you a reason to watch. But at the same time, though, it's not like there's anything intriguing. He's just mowing down 11 batters, getting 11 strikeouts, and that's it. That's spring training, and that was supposedly the last spring training game, but that's the last one with the majority of your starters when you're going to end up being ready for opening day. You got like 2 more days still. But it gives you a reason to watch. Otherwise, we weren't really watching spring training. I guess we could say that overall. Like, you end up having George Valera. That was maybe a possible prospect called up. And you had Roman Quinn that ended up having a hot start to spring. And it's giving you reasons like with these prospects. And that's kind of the Guardians' route to spring training, I guess you could say. And on that note, we are actually joined by Riggs now at this time on the We Like Sportz Podcast. Riggs, your buddy at in Columbus is here, and he was looking forward to possibly seeing Stephen R. Smith at some point within the next few weeks.
Oh, Stephen A. God dang it, Stephen R. Smith. Yeah, I should be getting a text from him within like the 7:30 hour. So I'm just waiting. Like I just got back from dropping off family at a location to hang out with other family. So I'm here to ready to talk about sports, and I'll keep you guys updated on what Mr. Stephen R. has to say. I've actually been worried about the man my damn self, actually. So.
Is Stephen R. Is he a Knicks fan? Because if the Cavs play the Knicks now, is there going to be?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he's also like super like. Well, I think he means perplexed, but he said like superplexed about the situation.
Like so,
exactly. The Garden, the Knicks. So yeah, like he's definitely he's feeling some type of way about that. It's good to see you, Drew, Casey, Ed in Columbus. Peyton, saw you earlier. Went to the gym, had a good time.
Nice seeing you again.
Drop some soap,
Oh my God! I was like, wait, why would I do that? But yeah.
Hey,
He obviously has us on Snapchat. Me.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, why would I drop soap? But yeah, never mind. Yeah.
You might want to explain that inside joke before it gets too far, and then we can go talk Guards baseball.
We were at the gym and I walked in the shower area and I made a joke on someone dropping the soap, and I was the one going in to make sure the person was okay.
Being a good Samaritan.
They can say that again.
Being a good Samaritan. That's what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, my eyes are burning. Hey, I got you.
But on that note, before it gets too carried away, the Guardians' opening day is Thursday against Seattle. You have the Mariners. They start off in the West Coast. You have after the Seattle series, you have Oakland, and then next Friday, I believe, not next Thursday, but next Friday is the Guardians' home opener. And who knows what the weather is going to be? This past weekend was rain. This upcoming week is probably going to be rain. So that's snow, but is there going to be nice weather on opening day for the home opener?
Knowing like Dick Goddard. I mean,
rest in peace, Dick Goddard. That was my man. Heck yeah. But knowing Cleveland, anything can happen. Like we've had snow on opening day up here, a couple of times. I definitely remember, what was it, 2007?
Yep.
I believe the home opener. Yeah.
Yep.
Say that again.
Paul Bird, back when he pitched for 6 innings or 5 innings in the snow, and there was snowmen and snow.
And that was against the Mariners too. That was against the Mariners.
Yeah, it was against them. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Mike
That's why they're out west now.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall though, with the weather, I mean, hopefully it's better weather. Obviously, starting out in Seattle, you can't be mad. Obviously, the times suck. And if you're looking to stay up until 10 o'clock to 1 in the morning to watch a full game, kudos to you. But it's going to be difficult. And I honestly don't even know what that game is going to be broadcasted on, because you ended up having MLB Sports go bankrupt or file bankruptcy at this point. And you end up having MLB saying that they're going to end up having streams. And I've heard that those streams are going to cost money. So, I mean,
I called it that they weren't going to provide games for free.
Well, you were right. It's all a money grab when it comes to baseball. And you look at the WBC and how many people were interested and intrigued with that, and that was free TV. You had Fox Sports 1, obviously, which is a part of a cable premier package. But you still had people with interest in watching that. You had people on social media, Twitter, wherever you may be, TikTok, that are seeing all these clips of, I mean, look at that Trey Turner home run, for example. To talk about the WBC briefly, more views, more eyeballs on that overall than what there was for the World Series home run. Yeah. So where exactly did they go wrong? It's the MLB.
It's also the audience, too. I mean, there's a way bigger audience for the WBC.
We talked about it last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it?
That got lost in March Madness.
Yeah, 97.4 share or whatever like that in Japan. So everybody in Japan was watching that. So that's huge too. And obviously in the States, we got our teams that we like, but they love baseball in Japan, and kudos to them. I mean, literally everybody in Japan watched it.
Right. Yeah, without a doubt. You had 100% makes a whole full amount, but 97.68, whatever it may be. You have a huge following with that. And I mean, that brings me to my next question too, just because the likelihood of them sticking together is unlikely. And that's Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. And you saw that as the final showdown with the WBC World Baseball Classic. Obviously, I'd say Shohei Ohtani ended up getting the better end of the deal, but what does that mean for baseball now? Just because that was something I wanted to hit on last week, and I don't think we really got to talk about it. It's the fact that you had 2 guys on the same team in the Angels organization. And, I mean, after Mike Trout ended up playing in that too, and he ended up saying, I forgot to who or what media source said it, but I saw that he said that playing in an atmosphere like that was needed in order to feel that type of atmosphere, the World Series atmosphere, the playoff atmosphere, to make them hungry to be back. And that's like, you really have to be in the WBC to see that. And like, kudos to him, no harm, no foul. But you're an athlete that hasn't been in the playoffs forever. Obviously, you missed that. does that just mean that you don't want to be on the Angels at this point? Because they're not winners, and you could only do so much. And Trout's been there for who knows how long now. It's been 10+ years almost. You can't do much more than that. And you added Shohei Ohtani to the mix too. You can't do that much behind it. I mean, Anthony Rendon. The Angels have had such a good team on paper. They should be better than where they're at. And obviously, I think Shohei Ohtani is definitely the brighter future. And Trout, kudos to him in that at bat. But Shohei Ohtani looked light years ahead of him as a pitcher than Mike Trout was a batter. And it's hard to believe that those were the two best role models for baseball.
That's what I was going to say, though, about Trout. I personally, I don't know. Like, there's superstars that stand out to you. I've never, I know Trout's good. His stats are good, but I've never, hot take here probably, know what makes him that big of a deal. Like, Judge has the power, home runs, he gets the TV, I guess. But, like, what is, I don't know, Trout? He's in L.A. How does he not get more publicity?
Yeah.
His team blows. I know that. But how can they blow when you have two of the best players in baseball?
And then you added a guy like Anthony Rendon, too, that was supposed to be a huge signing.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Drew, what were your thoughts on that with Trout? I know you were starting to say something.
Well, I mean, the thing about, like, Trout is he's so low-key. Like, he's such a big star, but he doesn't command the media.
He's like antisocial almost. Like he's like a superstar that everybody wanted to build around, but he doesn't speak. And he's not. Maybe that's MLB's fault because obviously we always talk about how to make the game of baseball better. And the thing is that I think they have Mike Trout, but I don't think he either knows how to speak or knows how to get the attention the right way to get that core baseball audience to say, you know what, those kids that like when we were kids. We were always saying, well, A-Rod, Barry Bonds.
I'd like Bryce Harper more than Trout. When Harper was the top, I liked Harper more.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think every player that's a star has an obligation to go out and become a massive media personality. I mean, is it nice when they do? Yeah, but what's his job? His job isn't to be the ambassador for the sport of baseball. His job is to be good at baseball, and for the vast majority of his career, he's been the best in the game. He's fast, he hits. His WAR is so high that the guy that's in second place is at like half of his WAR. I mean, so it doesn't really matter whether you want more out of him. If you're a fan of a team that he's on, he's giving you 100% what you want out of a player in baseball. He doesn't need to talk.
But is he a good teammate? Is he a good teammate? Because you look at I look at Jose Ramirez, for instance. Doesn't even really know English. That's why he wanted to stay in Cleveland because if he goes to New York or whatever like that, he might actually have to learn some English and get interviewed on a more of a bigger scale. And he didn't want that. He took a hometown discount to stay in Cleveland because he liked to be low key and everything. So I'm wondering, does maybe Mike Trout, he puts up these big numbers and everything, but does he make the people around him better? And I don't know. I'm not the biggest Angels fan per se. I know he puts up huge stats, but you look at the Guardians team, a team that shouldn't have won as much as they have, and they get better, and they like Jose Ramirez. They look like they're having fun in the clubhouse and everything. And maybe Mike Trout's just a too vanilla of a guy. He's just too square, and I don't know what the case may be, but he doesn't inspire that team, and they usually flame out in August.
Eddie Columbus. Stephen R. Smith here. I just got here. I just got to Riggs' little apartment here. He went off to drink a protein shake. I just got here. I'm getting dressed here shortly. But you're not such an Angels fan. Let me tell you about what I've been going through. But for you, Ed in Columbus, you're not an Angels fan. I want you to remember the movie Angels in the Outfields. Just believe. Hello to my boy Casey. Hello to my boy Drew. Hello to my boy Peyton. I want to take over your show. We'll continue on with the conversation. Then I'll give you guys some whereabouts about myself, and then I'll wait for my suit to be pressed out of the dryer.
Well, we're still going to talk some baseball, Stephen R., to catch you up. Talk a little bit more Guardians. But we do have the Cavaliers clinching the playoffs. Obviously, the Cavs and Knicks are supposed to match up. We'll talk about that. I'm sure you're excited about that because you're a big Knicks fan from what I remember. And we'll also talk a little bit about the Golden State Warriors as well coming up on the show.
Oh yeah, most definitely. The Cleveland Cavaliers, because I'm right now resonating in Cleveland, Ohio, at your boy LeConte's, and also my New York Knickerbockers are going to be playing the Cavaliers. The 4 and the 5, right in the middle, right where you need to be. You don't need to be on top. You don't need to be on bottom, because all the impact comes right in the middle. And I think your boys is going to know that's going to be a damn good game of 6. I don't want to be biased, or I don't want to seem like I'm biting the Big Apple too hard. But I got my Knicks winning in 6, and I got them winning and taking all the chicks. And Patrick Ewing's coming down and eating chicken nuggets.
Well, before we get too far ahead with your Knicks talk and the Cavaliers talk,
I gotta get my suit on.
All right, get your suit on. Nobody else is gonna probably have a suit except for a dress shirt, and that's Ed in Columbus. He looks really professional today, so shout out to him before Stephen R takes his thunder, probably. But it always happens one way or another. He doesn't even realize
What
it.
What a diva.
But, guys, the first time that we're actually finally talking about the Cleveland Guardians this year, like I said, Thursday's opening day for the MLB. What are your thoughts on the Cleveland Guardians this upcoming year? I mean, they ended up releasing their roster. They have 3 catchers this year. They have Gabriel Arias. They have Will Brennan. You have everybody else is pretty much your core. The starting pitchers still return for now. I think that changes eventually, whether that's Zach Plesac, Aaron Savali on the way out. Your bullpen looks pretty good so far. I mean, you ended up adding a couple arms. Tim Herron's like a 6'6", 250-pound lefty that, I mean, you finally have a lefty, whether or not he's a starter in the bullpen. You have somebody that could have the potential to be a flamethrower alongside Karinchak, Class A. I mean, Aniel De Los Santos is also a great bullpen addition, too, that kind of came under the radar last year, too. But
You got
your
Vince
thoughts?
out there too. I can't forget about you.
Where was I at?
You're the ball boy, I thought.
Oh man, I got to get my custom made jersey then to get ready for opening day in
You can't.
April.
You still call them the Indians, so you can't.
So I have the Indians jersey, not the Guardians jersey. Then. So I have to get the new one then. Obviously, maybe I'll get the name changed a little bit better. But regardless, though, guys, with the Guardians, what are your thoughts on this upcoming season? I mean, they were a playoff team last year. They made a really deep run. It was definitely a surprise. Could they do it again? I think it's possible. I don't know if it's going to be as easy because you're playing every MLB team, and we discussed that earlier on. I think Drew and I hit on that on one of the shows. You play every MLB team now. It's not just the division you're beating up on. But regardless, if your division sucks, you're still going to be in good shape. So, Ed, if you want to start us off with the Guardians, what your thoughts are this upcoming year for the Guardians or your expectations?
Well, expectations high. You got to get out to a fast start. I know Cleveland likes to, in April, for whatever reason, they like to play around 500 baseball, and it'd be nice to, get a lead and instead of having to dig yourself out. I think that, at least make it to the American League Championship Series. Now, I got to give a shout out to Just for Fans, the podcast down in Houston. I was with my guys talking a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking. They think the Houston Astros are the end all be all, and they might be right. They look like a really great team. But I said it'd be nice to meet your Houston Astros in the ALCS and just see what our pitching can do. Because I do like our pitching. It's always been our strength. But I do like our lineup now with the addition of Bell at first base. I mean, that's a big bat. He's got I won 30 homers from him. And, I think win the division. Like you said, 19 games now only down to 13 games with your central rivals that you're playing and playing everybody else. So you still beat up on them. Beat up on the National League if you can. Like, what was it, 2015 when we went like 17-1 or 18 or something ridiculous.
Right.
So do that. Got the best manager in baseball, 5th best looking in all of baseball, 1st best looking in the American League, according to whoever. I don't know. I guess
Columbus. I was gonna say.
Well, I don't know. Winning is sexy, and Tito on a scooter. As long as he's winning, he's a handsome guy. So I got.
And as long as he has that scooter too.
Yeah. Don't be steal. I don't know what's going on in Cleveland, but you guys even steal from your own managers. I mean, I don't know what's going on up there about the theft. Maybe Stephen R can speak to that. I don't know about the New York crime, but so high hopes for the Guardians.
First off, in Columbus, I just want to let you know that on that particular comment, we could talk about that on the Serious Man podcast called "What the Hell Is Going On in Cleveland."
Fair enough.
I agree with you when it comes to the Tribe. The Guardians, they need to put their foot on the gas. They love playing some 500 baseball in the beginning of the year. Young at bat, fresh legs, one of the most handsomest managers in the American League. I do all say my damn self. I think that the Guardians, they have a great potential chance of making a good run, making a good playoff run. When I was living with Riggs at his old place, about 15 blocks away, and I would sit there and I would wonder, the Guardians got it together, but they just need some more pieces, and just a little bit more confidence, a little bit more time, and I enjoyed watching that series last year in the playoffs. Like deep down, I wanted them to get a little bit farther, but it wasn't meant for them at the moment.
Casey and or Drew.
I got three points to make about the Guardians. So the first thing is the lineup we have going into the year, right? I think it's pretty solid. You got like Kwan, Rosario, Ramirez, Bell, and then it goes Naylor, Gonzalez, Jimenez, Zunino, Straw, right? That's a pretty deep lineup, I would say, starting the year in my mind. From the production that they could have and the players that line up, it's pretty impressive to me, like going into it. If Jimenez is hitting seventh.
To add to your point, too, there's been how many times? I mean, we do it every show, and Ed, this is your, I guess, your immediate 30-minute or so notice. But after the end of every show, as you know, I'm sure, you end up having a random Guardians/Indians player of all time, the most, I don't even know, the most absurd that you could think of at times. But there's been so many people that you could name with the Guardians opening day lineup/Indians opening day lineups. I mean, you had Niger Morgan at one point. You ended up having Hanley Ramirez a couple years. You ended up having these weird guys that ended up having somehow Juan Uribe. Yeah, but that was also a blessing in disguise for Jose Ramirez, though, too, at the same time. We had so many off-the-wall names that were once relevant, but this year, on paper, and I know it's on paper, that's the disappointing part, but you have 1 through 7, obviously 8 and 9. Zunino has potential, and I mean, if he has a 30 home run season, batting 8.
Look at him compared to Hedges, right? What Hedges puts in there. Yeah, I mean, it's an upgrade.
And Straw, hopefully he comes around. I mean, he hit the first home run in however long.
That's not happening. If you seen the home run, it wouldn't have got over at the Progressive Field. It was like a line drive, so that would not have got out at home. But I was going to say the second point I had connected to what you were saying. Okay, do you think Straw is going to turn it back around? Do you think Rosario is going to be able to play like he has and stay in that 2 spot? Is Kwan just a 1 year wonder? Is Gonzalez a 1 year wonder? What is Naylor with a healthy season now? Is Bell going to hit those 30 home runs that you're talking about? Like, there's a chance, but can he also not do that, right? So you almost look at everybody in that lineup and say, wow, they have that much potential, but they also maybe, could end up, because before last year, the expectations were very low. We were predicted last in some predictions. So is there a chance that it was like a one good year and they just go back down to, what they were projected?
Like reality. You're going back into reality because it was unexpected to begin with. But I mean, at the same time, though, when you go to Miles Straw, defensively, you almost want to keep him in that lineup. And I think there's theories that I saw on Twitter, and Drew, I'll let you get to your thoughts on the Guardians too. And if you want to mix in a little New York taste to it as well, I guess I can allow it, unfortunately. But I mean, with Straw, you want to end up having him defensively, and with 3 catchers, you have that ability to pinch hit that catcher now, too. And with that, you end up getting more at-bats for Will Brennan that's going to end up coming off the bench, Gabriel Arias. These guys they could end up playing coming off the bench and making a huge point that, hey, I should be in the starting lineup. You should trade away Amid Rosario because he's struggling right now, and when I'm coming off the bench, I could get on. So, I mean, there's a lot of variables, and hopefully it's success early on because a Guardians team that would start off hotter than 500 would be a great sign because you all know that living in Cleveland, being Guardians fans, if you are one, you're always after July, you're turning the corner, and that's the best part of the season is July after that second half of the season, and that's just known as being a Guardians fan. But Drew, if you want to end up continuing on.
Yeah, so I don't think the Tribe will keep 3 catchers all season. I think it'll tie into New York, I promise. But with the new rules, I see more teams instead of having like the extra bullpen pitcher or the extra catcher on the lineup, they're gonna end up pulling up somebody with speed. It just seems like the advantage is going to be on base running now. So we'll see like a month or so into the season how it shakes out, but I don't foresee them keeping 3 catchers on the full-time roster. Although you can pinch hit and they're actually decent hitters, they're still catchers. There's a lot of better utility men out there. Just like my random New York Mets player that I picked a couple weeks ago. Shout out to my Little League teammate, Tim LaCastro, made the Mets 26-man roster. And the specific reason was they wanted somebody who's a veteran outfielder who can steal bases. Purely. I mean, they came out and said it, that their little experiment on a second DH was dumb, and they wanted a base runner. I hope the Tribe actually decide they're going to win games in the beginning of the season. We're at the end of hockey season, which I love, but they keep repeating the same phrase. Wins at the beginning of the season count just as much as wins at the end of the season. We put a lot of pressure on like the magic number at the end of the year, but winning 10 games in April is the exact same as winning 10 games in October for the standings. So teams need to start realizing like this isn't a warm up. Those games are going to matter. But we'll see. I mean, come beginning of June, if we all had to put money on it, 5 games over 500 maybe on a good note.
That's like a good $5 bet.
I think so. I might put some money on that.
Get money between one of us, or are you talking about like a DraftKings/FanDuel sportsbook?
I mean, any of the above. I'm on a cold streak lately, so I need to revamp. Maybe I'll bet against you.
Ooh, Indians fan 11. Yeah, that's Peyton's username.
Right?
Yeah. And as you guys have seen too on Twitter, at least, I mean, Drew called me out for my March Madness bracket with that. Those guys are 2 guys with sports news that we ended up having on last week. And I might be messing up the show just offhand, but it's at TTSN News on Twitter. But we ended up filling out brackets, and Drew blew me away because I think I ended up forgetting to fill out my bracket, and that was definitely
you had a whopping 0.
Hey, it takes talent. To get none of them right, it takes talent. And I think I just tried to end up proving a point. I wanted to show all my guys
Hugh Jackson
on the We Like Sportz podcast.
To win 0.
Hey, next year I'm going for 1 point. So then I could be 1-31 just like he was. Because, Hugh Jackson, as a Steelers fan, he's my hero. I mean, he helped life so much easier. And it was disappointing for any Browns fan that went through that. And I'm sorry you guys had to go through that. But on another note, though, as Drew does bring up sports betting, just want to give a quick shout out to our friend at Uncle Joe the Black Bookie. He's the Snooze You Lose podcast. He's going to end up helping you out with any sports locks, and make sure to check him out. Snooze You Lose podcast. Great guy. Going to help you out with any single game locks. And he ended up having the Los Angeles Kings game last night for hockey. That was a lock. So obviously, I mean, he's not on a hot streak yet, but he's won 2 in a row. So I mean, he's the guy that you could end up going to. So again, the Snooze You Lose podcast, shout out to him, and make sure you listen to his podcast as well, sports betting wise. But guys, going to March Madness, really briefly, unless if you guys want to end up adding anything more to baseball related for the Guardians, I don't know if I ended up having everybody get a chance, but we could go to March Madness or the NBA and talk Cavaliers, Knicks. I don't know if we're done talking about the Guardians, though, and I'm finally giving them the time, and I don't want to end up.
May I ask something? May I ask something, Peyton?
Yeah, go ahead, Stephen R.
Did you talk about the Zach Greinke situation?
Yeah, we did. We pulled the video up.
This is my input on it. This is how I feel about it. What in the hell is his problem? A man of that professionalism should not be taking the game that loosey-goosey, okay? He can play like that if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us was in his nice backyard, 24,000 square foot or something like that, and he was just lollygagging with us, throwing 40 miles per hour. Hell yeah, Stephen R. Payton, Ed from Columbus. All of us would like that, right? But you're out here playing like a professional game, not giving a damn, ignoring your own calls. There's people out here, little boys playing in fields that cannot wait to get to that position. And he's out here just taking advantage of it. Just like when you let your cookie soak at the bottom of the milk and you just don't give a damn.
or
But you know better.
Seriously, because he's.
Oh, is that true?
I think he's taking it really seriously. I mean, he's straight up just giving up on the spring training stats purely so he can get some extra work in before the season.
We got Stephen R. speechless. I think you made a good point, Drew.
I got him.
That was just my opinion, and I had to give it on that situation. I wouldn't be out there loosey goosey in that situation, just playing like that with these boys out there. If you want to play like that, I would just do that with my friends because I know I'm a confident player. They don't really know what's going on because I'm the professional. They're not. So guess what? I am going to work on getting my tags on the first base.
You're assuming Zach Greinke has friends. He's a weird dude. He might not have any friends.
People say I'm a weird ass dude, and Peyton's my friend.
No, Peyton's a weird ass dude, and he's your friend. Yeah, so,
and Casey's a weird ass dude because I'm his friend. And Drew's a weird ass dude, and Adam Colovis is a weird ass dude.
I must be weird for joining, then I guess.
It's just,
but it needs. So I had to give my opinion.
Podcast.
We need to get the hack attack on Stephen R's podcast.
Oh man, what was that podcast name again, Stephen R? It was whatever about crimes in Cleveland or New York.
What the hell is going on in Cleveland?
Yeah, we got to get
Matthew Hackle. Yeah.
I think he'd be a big fan to talk about some fantasy football on that.
Wait, the Hackle, glasses Hackle.
The Hackle.
Same poses on Snapchat Hackle.
Yes.
Cool guy, funny laugh, Matt Hackle.
Before we end up going down the rabbit hole too much, though, last thing baseball related, and I saw this earlier today, and this kind of ends up being a little intriguing for the future of umpires. I mean, this umpire today during spring training had such a short fuse. I'll play it here and then give us your thoughts, everybody. But I think iRobot umpires make a little bit more sense more and more. Yeah, that's exactly it. Here's the clip. And I'll play it one more time just in case if it was too quick.
Are you trying to get a reaction out of your boy today?
No, just in general. It was just he.
No, are you trying to are you trying to test my glucose levels?
What do you mean?
I have high glucose levels.
Okay, what's that mean?
Blood sugar.
Okay, why is your blood sugar high?
Because why the hell would that do that? Some of those guys got some of the biggest brass you know what's in the world because you're probably as big as a pencil, but you're sitting behind some pads that's making you as big as Triple H. Why the hell would he do that? That just confused the hell out of your boy. Casey, how you doing?
So the Triple H
impersonation. Yeah.
Yes. And it was not even time to play the game, probably.
But, I mean, is it time to end up getting the robot umpires in play? Because, I mean, it's spring training. I mean, this honestly seems like from that umpire's point of view, it's the high school, middle school, elementary school, whatever, gym teacher that just got so mad because the activities that day, the kids weren't listening. And he ended up handing the ball away. And JT Realmuto didn't end up knowing the ball was coming. His face, his body language, everywhere facing forward. And the umpire ejects you because you didn't catch the ball because you didn't leave your glove out long enough. And in the previous at-bat, the umpire threw the ball back to the pitcher. So it's like, come on, man.
It's like that time at your softball tournament where the umpire pulled a gun on the guy. Remember that?
What the fuck?
He hears some things.
No, I'm telling you.
He's right, though.
It was just like that time, yeah.
What?
That's why.
Well, you know what though? I'm gonna stick up for the umpire. Okay, you know we're sticking up for Zach Greinke. We're sticking up for Zach Greinke. Say he's getting work in. Maybe that umpire's getting work tossing people, and he wants to. You know what I'm saying? It's all about just getting work in for spring training. That's all that is. Get the heave ho toss going, and I actually applaud the umpire for I don't know.
I like it.
Sorry.
I like it.
I'm sorry.
I like it. Hey, maybe he is getting his work.
Yeah, you broke him. You broke Stephen Orr.
He's done.
If only he was there.
And I heard rumors that Zach Greinke and that umpire actually had dinner together. So I don't know.
They had dinner together.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
After they put in work.
Oh, that's so rich. Oh my God!
Are you crying right now, Stephen R?
Oh my God! In my life, and I grew up in the Bronx, and I've seen some brothers do some things, but not on a baseball court. We never expected that. We expected peanuts and Cracker Jacks. Big
So did
softball. I apologize.
I just had a beer in my hand watching from the stands. I don't know what I saw.
Woo! Oh
Drew.
my God!
I mean, I'll be honest. It was ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. Like, the umpires obviously need to have a much longer fuse in these situations. But as someone who referees, I do basketball in the winters. There's such a shortage of people that do this that I don't love bashing umpires. Just because there's such a need for them, and any bad press is just one more reason for somebody to be like, yep, I don't want to make a mistake, so I'd rather just do anything else. I'm wondering, like, what happened. Like, it just seems so bizarre to me when I watch
Yeah, it's so quick.
time. Like, that
Something else had to happen before it.
right. So I just can't imagine an ump tossing somebody for that, and only that. I mean, I've got to imagine that Real Muto said something, because you can never hear, and you can't read lips for catchers. You know, he had to say or do something. I just can't imagine that it's just purely, oh,
On that.
yeah, you missed the ball, you're out of here.
Yeah, that was pretty ridiculous that it was so quick. Like, he pulled the trigger to eject him within seconds, and if that's the case, I mean, obviously, like you said, something had to be said, whether or not it was a previous at-bat, but that was still early on in the game, too. It wasn't like the game was, like, the seventh inning. It's still a spring training game, and the thing is like, the thing that bothers me from a player's standpoint, and then we'll end up going into the Cavs and basketball and the Knicks and the Warriors really briefly.
Yeah, please.
The thing is the fact that you end up having perspective. You're just a couple days out of your regular season, starts Thursday, and now you had 2 to 3 at-bats taken away from you because of you made a stupid comment to an umpire. You ended up moving your glove into something that ridiculous, possibly, too, because, like you said, there's probably a thing that warranted the fact that was the action, but you're still pulling away from your practice time as spring training continues on for the last 2 days, the last day or so. And that's frustrating from a player's perspective, and that's where I could understand JT Realmuto. I could understand that frustration without a doubt.
What about this idea?
He's
Just
not
like,
known for that either. He's not known to be like a pain in the ass and get ejected.
what about this? Remember Vlade Divac used to not, take a shower because in the pain he didn't want players around him. How do you know? Maybe that umpire didn't like the smell of the catcher or whatever like that. Maybe there was something.
Taco night.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, Stephen R., you can speak to, you can't perspire if you want to inspire, right?
Ooh.
Oh, pull up my armpit and I'm gonna try to sweat. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. That I'm just Vlade Divac. That was a hairy man. You understand? It was me, him, and Eddie Murphy. It was me, him, and Eddie Murphy, and it was after a Western Conference semifinal game. And your boy Vlade Divac. Oh my God! We're in an era right now where I don't want to seem like I'm bullying somebody, but your boy Vlade Divac outsmelled everyone inside the tour box. You know what I'm saying? Like Magic
about that.
Magic couldn't even, fix that. And Eddie Murphy just did his little laugh and everything, and then your Beverly Hills Cop,
Hey, and on that note, as we end up talking Stephen R., we talk about the past. I mean, we've already ended up hitting on it before. You're a big New York Knicks fan. You have the likelihood of the Cleveland Cavaliers, after clinching their spot for the first time since 1997.
Absolutely proud of them.
Up against the Knicks.
Absolutely proud. I apologize. I'm just absolutely proud of the Cavaliers for accomplishing something without the help of LeBron James. Because ever since the Cavaliers seem like they're always relevant when LeBron James is in Cleveland, Ohio. And now for the first time, it's like this team actually has an identity and they can actually have a little bit more confidence in themselves without relying on people in Cleveland up here saying for the last couple of years, oh my God, do you think LeBron's going to come back and play with his son? Well, guess what? LeBron's not coming back to play with his son and there's no brownies coming out the oven. So great for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I love the number 5. Number 5, that is my favorite number. I am a New York Knicks fan. I grew up in the Hard Knock Bronx, seeing the Knicks play all the time. Grew up carrying Patrick Ewing's bags. Grew up making sandwiches for John Starks. You know what I'm saying? So this is going to be a great series for me. I got my Knicks winning in 6. It's right in the middle, the 4 seed and the 5. So the game might be mediocre to some, but it's the impact in the middle, which you like. Everybody likes the cream of the Oreo, right? That's the 4 and the 5. Everything else in the outside doesn't matter.
Yeah, Drew.
I got an interesting predicament here then. So if you look at the
That was a
schedule
lot.
for the Cavs, if you look at the schedule for the Cavs, the end of the year it's pretty easy. So we could win out. We're playing no one good. If you take a look at the Sixers, I just pulled it up because I was curious. We're only 2 games behind them. The Sixers have the Nuggets tonight, and Embiid's not playing. Then they have the Mavs, the Raptors, the Bucks, the Celtics, and the Heat. I mean, who says there's not a shot that we move to the 3 seed, and then they fall to the 4? Who says? I mean, there's a possibility with the schedules left for both teams. It could happen.
It's almost like you don't want to end up playing them. Like, obviously, I'm not afraid of any team if I'm Cleveland, but I'd rather coast than end up losing some games because, I mean, the Knicks might be the better matchup, but at the same time, though, with the 76ers, if the Cavs do face them, how healthy is Joel Embiid?
We would move to the 3, and then we.
And then you're saying they dropped to 4, right? Oh, okay, the Nets got
to 4. Yeah, and then the 5 is still. It'd be the Knicks are 5, and then I'm telling you, it's a chance that the Sixers could play the Knicks in the first round, and then we end up playing the Nets.
And the Nets would be a good matchup too. I mean, there's basketball. I mean, like you mentioned, the Mavericks. The Mavericks could end up winning that game. They could lose that game. Things aren't going too well right there since Kyrie came around. And Kyrie, it just seems like he's a cancer to any team.
I was texting Kyrie Irving when I was in the bathroom taking the morning Constitution. And I can discuss that later on in the show. But yeah, keep going.
Speaking of like you said, the Lakers though, something crazy I saw on TV before I came on here. The Cavs are 25-1 to win the championship this year.
Yep.
The Lakers are 20-1. The Lakers have a better chance betting wise to win the finals than the Cavs do, and the Cavs would be a 3 seed, and the Lakers could not even make the playoffs still.
Yep.
One reason and one reason only, and it's a guy named LeBron James, and that's unfortunate.
I'm just saying, isn't that insane?
But you're right.
We've had a great season where it could be a 3 seed, and then the Lakers sucked all year, and they could, not even make the playoffs have better chances right now, better betting odds.
It's stupid though. I mean, that's just because some bettors probably think, well, there's no way they're going to have the playoffs without LeBron, right? Somehow end up. Hey, there's enough conspiracy theorists in sports that I wouldn't be surprised if there's a whole bunch of people saying they're going to make it one way or another. But for the Cavs, you're going to find out a lot about how this playoff matchup is going to go on Friday. The Knicks are in Cleveland on Friday. That's going to be a huge game. I'm going. We'll see.
I'm going to the Magic game. They play the Magic next Tuesday, and I'm going to go down there and see it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping you were going to watch the Magic.
I don't want to give you guys a spoiler, but I don't want to give you guys a spoiler, but I'm supposed to be doing an a cappella version of the Pledge of Allegiance at Madison Square Garden during the round 1 game of the NBA playoffs. I just got to get my Uber booked to New York so I can get out there and then talk to the handler out there.
Well, my take is this: Stephen R., Stephen A., all the New York Knickerbocker fans, Cavs in 6. Not only did we get Spider Mitchell, away from the Knicks because that's everybody's always going to go to New York. No, Cleveland got Donovan Mitchell, and he's going to be the difference in the first round series. Cavs in 6.
I mean, I like the Cavs no matter who they play. If it's the Nets, if it's the Knicks, I like them. I think they're going to end up moving out of the first round, but I don't think I mean, I got a bet on the Cavs to win the NBA championship. I think I put like $10 down, and this was back in like January or February. So those 25 odd ones, I don't think that was the same. I think they were a lot less then because they were losing in a couple streaks. So that was the right time to place the bet, and I wouldn't be mad if that bet cashes in. But realistically speaking, hopefully they do make it to the NBA championship. Hopefully they do win it, but I'm not going to guarantee it. It's not going to be an easy ride, but that first round, whether or not it's the Knicks or the Nets, that's going to be a great team that you're ended up facing out of New York.
But to Casey's
the Knicks
point,
are like the best team after the All-Star break in the league, aren't they? They're one of the
they've cooled down though. They've cooled down.
Yeah, but
Julius Randle's just unreal.
Yeah, I mean they're good and they're hot. I mean any team I don't really know the numbers on it, and that's usually my like forte, but there was talk of like teams that are like well above 500 after the All-Star break versus those that were before. Even if they have the same record, the teams that's better after the All-Star break have more success in the playoffs. Like even though people say momentum's not real, it's real. So I don't know.
22 games in a row for the Guardians says otherwise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've had a couple good playoff runs after being mediocre at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, but if you end up blowing your load too early, it could happen.
Yeah.
You know, Peyton, Casey made a good point about the 3 seed. If we do get the 3 seed instead of the 4 seed, I guess what it comes down to, who do you want to face in the second round? Do we face better against Milwaukee or Boston? That matters.
Yeah, yep, exactly. Yeah. I was going to say the same thing too. Do we have a better matchup? Is it if we stay at 4, we're going to play the Bucks? Because I'm in my head, we're not losing first round. It's not happening to me. So, like, we get to the second round, who are we going to be better against, the Bucks or the Celtics or Sixers in that situation?
I think we're better against Boston.
It's tricky. It's definitely
it really is.
To look at.
Those are two teams that I don't want to face, regardless. You're going to have to. You're going to have to. Like that's sports. That's unfortunate, and more than likely, I think that either team you're going to be facing with, I think that's going to go to 7, and that's going to be a great 7-game series, and the fans are going to win regardless, whether or not it's the Cavs and the Celtics or the Cavs and the Bucks. But time's going to tell. But I mean, otherwise, if I have to pick, the Bucks, so many teams back when Grayson Allen ended up getting traded or claimed off of or bought out by the Chicago Bulls. I think that was after the trade deadline. A lot of teams in the NBA were really irritated with the fact that the Bulls just let that happen, and the Bucks got way better. And then on Boston, they just stayed the same. So, I mean, if you're looking at either team, Boston kind of gives me that edge that I don't want to face the Bucks, but the Celtics, I'll take 7 games with. Jason Tatum's good. Jaylen Brown's good. Marcus Smart. You name any player that's a good player on the Celtics, they just have a good core. They're young. That's kind of the future of the Cavs.
Our strength is our big men, I would say. Yeah. So would you rather have us face against the Celtics big men, which don't really scare me that much, or Embiid, right? Because you got Embiid, I don't know if we can stop Embiid. Then with Embiid, he stretches the floor, so then it pulls Allen away from the hoop as well, if that's who's guarding him. If you look at the Bucks, you got Lopez, right? So Lopez stretches it out because he's never inside, right? So he's not a bad defender personally, I think. So I mean, who do you prefer? I would say the Celtics, because we could get them on the inside. And if Garland and Mitchell are on, they're on. And we have, Jetty or some other LeVert who could step up and put a 15, 20-point game in there too.
Yeah, and to add one last thing too, because I know we're already running out of time. An hour's already gone by for the We Like Sportz podcast. And March Madness I want to hit on, but I want to hit on one more thing basketball-wise too. I want to get your guys' thoughts about the Golden State Warriors. I mean, their home record is 30-8, and their away record is 9-29. Are they going to be a threat if they do make it into the playoffs? I mean, they're not in the play-in game scenario right now, but they're winning at home, but away they can't do the job. Is that a team to be threatened by?
I absolutely wouldn't think so myself, being Stephen R. Smith, because I was in the Golden State area. Also, what happened to me when I was in Arizona for the Super Bowl weekend. I believe that roster, guys like Stephen Curry, guys like Klay Thompson, guys like that, not saying they're getting up there in age at the moment, but they've been running on the same formula, it seems like, for so long, and Now they got to find what made them great again, but just put something new inside of it. I think if they make it into the playoffs, say that again.
They're defending champs. They won last year.
Well, that's their damn problem.
I'm telling you, man. It's not like they were good a few years ago. I mean, they were pretty tough last year too. So,
Drew, Ed, Casey, what are your guys' thoughts on the Warriors?
They don't play defense on the road. You look at it; it's like they give up like 120 points on the road, like 106 at home. Defense is effort. So Golden State, if they do, make a playoff run, I think they'll be fine. I think they got the heart of a champion or whatever cliche you want to put.
I think it's a tough game though. As a number 1 seed, if you're the Nuggets and you get stuck against the Warriors in the first round.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
I think Golden State's one of those teams. They could turn it on. They play team defense. They'll be all right. They just don't play team defense on the road in the regular season.
Right. And honestly, if you can play defense at home, you can play defense away. I mean, it's not one of those things where like, oh my God, we're away. We don't know how to do this.
It should translate. Both places.
Should. And I think
the Cavs record's not that good either. If you look at the Cavs difference, they're way worse on the road than they are at home. They're really tough at home. Yep. The road's what hurts them too.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think playoff time is a whole different beast too. I mean, there's a thought that the Warriors knew they know they're in. Why bother? Busting.
I'm more scared of the Warriors than the Bucks.
Yeah, personally. I mean, when they turn it on, they're going to be as good as anybody else. So, I think it's one of those things where you can't overlook an opponent because of something that happened during the regular season. Teams they become different animals in the postseason.
Does anybody else have anything to add about the Warriors before we hop over to March Madness, the Final Four, really quick?
Nothing about the Warriors, but I just want to just like, no.
All right.
We can get to March Madness.
March Madness, as we close the show, a very unexpected March Madness, to say the least. And before we end up going into March Madness, make sure to follow us on Twitter, on YouTube, subscribe to us, Twitter at We Like Sportz PC, our website, WeLikeSportsPC.com. You got Ed in Columbus, that's one of the writers. You have Drew, that's one of the writers. Casey's ended up editing a couple contents here and there. Stephen R. Smith is still waiting on his own section, but there's going to be some preposterous articles, I'm sure, whatever he ends up saying. But make sure to end up following us on social media. Check out our website. And again, this podcast version is going to be released Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. for Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, and all podcasting platforms. But for March Madness, it's safe to say everybody's bracket is busted. But who would have thought it would have been UConn, Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, and Miami, the Florida Miami.
Last week when I was listening to the show, when I was in the trunk on my way back to Ohio, I heard Riggs saying that he really didn't watch March Madness, but he threw in a dark horse saying UConn, and good old sweet home Alabama said UConn was scary. Now where's Alabama? Where's UConn? Anything can happen in March Madness,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I was 0 for 4 on the Final Four, so.
I had one of mine. Oh, I had one.
None of
it.
UConn.
Safe to say, I'm sure everybody had UConn if they ended up having anyone out of the Final Four, right?
I had UConn, Creighton, somebody else, Texas, and somebody
Miami
else.
Was good all year. I mean, I'm not surprised by Miami at all. The ACC's tough, and they were competitive in every game in the ACC. So I'm not surprised by them. The only surprise is really FAU as a team that
San Diego State.
No chance.
Nah, San Diego State was the first Mountain West team ever.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
The only thing I'm happy about as an Ohio State fan and an Ohio State graduate is I am glad that Alabama lost because at Ohio State they always say it's a football school and we haven't won a national championship since 1960. If Alabama would have won a national championship in basketball with their football dominance, I don't think I'd be beside myself because, at Ohio State, I'm not happy with Chris Holtman. I'm not happy they didn't make the tournament. And shout out to the Lady Buckeyes tonight who play at 9:00 against Virginia Tech. We win tonight. We're in the Final Four. But Ohio State.
I know that's right.
We should be better at basketball. And the fact that Alabama was the number 1 seed overall kind of scared me, but I'm glad they got taken out. I was 0-4 in the Final Four. And I just want to watch the games and have fun. That's kind of nice about having no teams left in my busted bracket. I mean, this thing's busted, mangled, tangled, whatever. Gone.
Ripped up.
It's gone. So let's just enjoy the games. And I hope somebody besides UConn wins it.
Me
Same
too.
here. I'd agree with you on that.
Absolutely.
No, that's the only team I have money on left. So I created UConn.
This takes some beer money.
I created
UConn. To
UConn.
bet in Ohio though, not in Florida.
Yeah, so I got to wait to cash out until May. So,
But guys, March Madness. Obviously, next week we're going to be talking about Monday. I think it's going to be the best possibility to have a championship March Madness mixed along with Guardians' first weekend talk. So make sure to stay tuned next week. You're going to have the championship games that Monday.
When's the WrestleMania?
WrestleMania weekend too, so it could be the WrestleMania show too. Who knows?
Before we get out of here, can I ask a question that could be probably asked on next week's show, or probably give some people some time to Metallica Enter Sandman sleep on it tonight?
Our Indians players too.
Yeah,
we could definitely do that.
Also, before you ask that question, let's plug social media. Follow me on Twitter at Peyton Vince, at We Like Sportz PC. Make sure to follow the podcast Twitter. Make sure to follow myself, Ed, Casey, Stephen R. Drew, give your Twitters, and Stephen R. has a question, which is dangerous. His brain's thinking too hard.
Well, follow me at Ed in Columbus, and also look for my articles on the We Like Sportz podcast and the website and everything. And shout out to you guys. Thanks for having me. And I look forward to keep writing, keep doing some good things. And let's rock and roll. And that's 2023. It's our year.
Hell yeah.
Follow me at Stephen R. Smith 15 on Twitter at the We Like Sportz podcast. After I get done watching a little bit of World Wrestling Entertainment tonight, I'll be sending out a good tweet and some good thoughts for everybody out here in the sports world.
Drew and Casey, social media. It always has you frozen.
I like how me and Casey always just wait for the other one to start talking.
You gotta get that. You gotta hit that around the horn buzzer.
That's what I'm saying.
So I'm at Forest City Sport. Also going to be writing more articles here in the near future. I've been slacking. But yeah, I'm pumped. Next week's gonna be sick because I'm national championship. Everything's gonna be going on. But yeah, Forest City Sport.
Casey?
Mine's my name. CASUYKOTLNSKI and everything. Pretty easy. I just got a shirt that says that on there now and make it easier. Or a pen, I'll just put that. But shout out to Ed because I see Ed's articles all the time. So he's keeping that website articles pumping out with him. So I appreciate you.
Hell yeah. Make sure to check out any editorials as well, too, because they're always great. And he's creative. So obviously, again, shout out to Ed in Columbus. Great guy. Happy to have you on the show today, man. We'll definitely have you involved a lot more. Awesome. And Stephen R., that's one of your biggest guys, too. I mean, he ended up repping the hoodie before we ended up even knowing we had hoodies, pretty much.
That's a sexy hoodie. I love repping it. I get more street cred, especially down in Columbus. I thought those are my guys, and you know what? They leave me alone.
That's good thing. That's good. Thank you, my guy. Thank you. We appreciate that. The We Like Sportz podcast. But I have a question right now for you guys that can be answered on next week's show. I'm going to give you some names: Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic. Who wins MVP of the NBA?
That's a good question. I think you're pretty much down to the two, but I think the one that's the favorite, the one that's hurt tonight, Joel Embiid, things are going to be interesting.
Well, we can hit on it next week. I want everyone to think about it, and also the people that listen to the show to think about it. Give yourself some time.
Unless something drastic happens, I know my answer already, so we're good.
Oh, damn. Oh, you
Donovan Mitchell.
And to close the show, guys, name the most random Guardians/Indians player that you could think of. We'll go Ed, Casey, Stephen R., Drew, and then I'll close it out with something off the top of my head, I guess.
My man I remember hitting a grand slam off Mariano Rivera, Bill Selby.
All right. I got a trifecta here. It's going to connect to what Ed brought up earlier about Houston being one of the best teams. So these three players played on the Indians, and they also all played for Houston Astros. And they played like during our life. Any guesses before I say the three?
Brantley's one of them.
Yeah.
Nope. That's
Kenny
not
Lofton.
one. Nope. It's not in my list. It's not Brantley.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to know, so never mind.
All right. It is Tony Sipp, who was a pitcher.
The
for us.
the lefty, Tony Sipp.
Yep. Joe Smith,
Oh,
who also played for us twice,
Yep.
and Luis Valbuena.
Luis. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Oh.
That was a trifecta there. So
Okay.
It's three. I don't know about. I would bet those guys, but I don't know.
Exactly.
Stephen R.
I'm going to go with number 8, the great Mr. Lonnie Chisenhall of the Cleveland Indians. I remember I was watching one of his games. I was reporting, and I was in Texas Stadium, and they were playing the Rangers. And boy, his bat was hot to trot. I believe this had to have been about, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody please, because Stephen R. has been through a whole lot and seen a whole lot in the sports industry. It's had to have been about 2013. Just had a hot streak on the show. Someone can leave it in the comments. Tell me next week, Lonnie Chisenhall.
His son's name is Cutter. Interesting fact. Cutter Chisenhall.
It is.
Yep.
I actually knew that.
Yeah. Not surprised anybody else did except for me.
Yeah. Since we're about to go into the baseball season, somebody's probably already named it in a podcast before I started hopping in. But the greatest walk-off home run in Indians history is Tyler Naquin. The back.
I got a shirt.
I got you one better.
I was there, and I stood there staring at the field for like 20 straight minutes, just not believing what I had just watched.
So, fun fact about that Tyler Naquin walk-off. I'm pretty sure Casey and I went bowling that night. We were driving to the bowling alley.
Like
We had to
Cloverleaf.
see the end clip at Cloverleaf that Tyler Naquin hit a walk-off inside the park home run. But to do you one better, Drew, to close the show, and again, follow us at We Like Sportz PC on Twitter. The best walk-off, arguably, it's either Tyler Naquin or it's 2013, going kind of the route of Stephen R. Smith, but Jason Giambi in September.
That woke me up out of a nap. Like that was, yep. They beat the White Sox. I believe that game, correct? Yep. Your boy was passed out on the couch because I was arguing with Max Kellerman, and I had to be up in Connecticut and take a flight so I could sit next to Sage Steele and try to not to be in the class about, sniffing things. So nonetheless, that woke me up, and I took a plane and I had to get to Connecticut.
Well, guys,
Ed, I love you.
Matthew Hackle must be what's his Max Kellerman in this?
What's going on in Cleveland? Matt Kellerman.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Thank you for the We Like Sportz podcast.
Hey, and guys, we'll see you guys next week, 7 to 8 o'clock, the live version. And make sure to check us out, 8 a.m., Tuesday morning, Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher. Stay it out there. Make sure to check out our website as well, WeLikeSportsPC.com. And guys, we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us.
Hasta luego.
Awesome.